Hello and welcome to Big Friendly Grub. I hope you are well. Now, you may remember a few weeks ago that I said I was going to be doing some charity running this year. I am running 20 races this year because it's 2020 and I am trying to raise money for Mind, the mental health charity, because I'm all about mental health awareness. And I made a really lovely lobster mac and cheese as a reward for myself for completing my very first race. And at the time of filming, yesterday, I finished my second race, so I wanted to try and treat myself again. It may not actually be yesterday now, whenever this video goes up. It's weird filming these things for a few weeks in advance. It's all a bit wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey. But regardless of when it happens, I wanted to treat myself again for completing this race because it is hard work. And yeah, I'm still not the fittest of guys. I've only started running last year and trying to get myself into better physical and mental health. So I did want to reward myself with a nice meal, and I thought this time I really want to do myself something with pork belly, because pork belly is one of my favourite cuts of meat. It's a cheaper cut of meat as well. You can get a really nice piece for about £5, which is really good. I wanted to do something with that, but I didn't want to just go down the whole like roasting it route. You know, I've done that plenty of times and it is amazing because you get the best crackling out of it. But I wanted to do something different this time. And you may remember from my Japanese food tasting video that I was going down a bit of a Japanese thing. So what I am going to do is going to be making Kakuni. I had to write it down to remember what it was called. Kakuni, however you pronounced it. It is Japanese braised pork belly. Sorry, I had to check my notes there. I couldn't remember what it was called. That is what I'm going to be making. It is a glazed pork belly and it is made with like sugar and soy sauce, and it's really sweet and it's so tender and it is amazing. And I wanted to show you how to make that today, and I get to eat it. So it's win-win. You get to know how to make it and I get to eat it. So I am going to show you how to make that right now because I want to get going because it's quite dark. It's evening, which is not when I usually film, and this is going to be my dinner. So I really want to get this going. So let's get started. Right, I am going to have to apologise for the lighting today because it is so dark. It is throwing out some funny shadows. So you've probably got the shadow of my tripod here, but I really can't help that because I'm kind of limited on space, and I think if I had it the other way around it would be too dark. Disclaimer over. First we're going to have to prepare our pork belly, and this is our cut of meat. It's a really lovely thick, ooh, don't want that bit. That won't be tasty at all. As I was saying, this is our cut of meat and it's got a really nice thick layer of fat on the top, which makes for amazing crackling if you roast. But when it gets cooked in this dish, it's going to render down and create some lovely flavour. It's really not an expensive cut of meat and it is fantastic. It's one of my favourite cuts. We're just going to have to prep this. So I'm going to cut this into about 4 strips, quite thick strips. I'm going to cut through this like so. So I'm going to cut off about 4 pieces about that size. There we go, that's pretty much bang on, almost completely level. So I'm quite pleased with that. So these are now going to have to be cooked in some liquids in order to soften them, because if we try and cook it like this, it'd be entirely too tough and it won't be very nice at all. So this can either be slow cooked or it could be done in a pressure cooker, which is what I'm going to do today. And I'm terrified because I've never used one before. So let's get that started. So this is my brand new pressure cooker. I've never used it before and I'm slightly terrified. If this is up on the internet and you are watching this, it means I didn't blow myself up, so hooray for that. But yes, I've never used it before. It is brand new. So I'm going to take the lid off here. It's really quite heavy duty, and this is what I'm going to be cooking my pork belly in. So I'm only going to need it to give it about half an hour in this. If you were not using a pressure cooker, you could use a slow cooker instead, but you'd have to give it about 3 hours, so you'd have to start this earlier in the day. But because I am using this, it means I can do it this evening rather than having to do it around lunchtime. So in order to do this, we are going to need a little bit of oil just in the bottom. This is because I am going to be putting in a layer of onions. I'm using red onions because that's all I got and I forgot to get any other kind. So these are going into the bottom. I'll probably use white onions instead, but I don't have any, so this is what I'm using. So we're going to need a bed of onions in the bottom to rest our meat on. I still had some paperwork in there. Hooray, that would not have been tasty at all. Thankfully it was resting at the side. Good grief, that could have been horrible. Why didn't anyone say anything? We're just going to rest our pork belly on the top of these onions, minus paper. Jeez. Now we're going to need some liquid to cook our pork belly in. Now you could just use water, that's absolutely fine, but I'm going to be using Dashi, and this is a full rich base and Eastern flavour. It's basically like a Asian broth or stock and this will be really nice to cook the pork belly in. So I'm going to use about 250 mils of this, just enough to kind of rest the pork belly in, and that's what will cook under pressure in our pressure cooker. At least that's the theory anyway. I've never used one. So in goes 250 millilitres of our dashi, not a lot, just enough to cook this. And on goes the lids, and you close it up, and I think I need to, yeah, I've got it set on the meat setting, so I think that's right. And now I guess I just leave this to cook for about 30 minutes, I think. Oh boy, like I say, I've only ever done this like in slow cookers, but I believe this is the right amount of time. So I'm going to leave this for 30 minutes, and if we're back in that time, then it went right. Right, this has had 30 minutes, and you can probably see the steam, and you can probably also hear it as well. This thing has been terrifying me for the past 30 minutes. It is now time to release the steam. So I'm going to do this with a pair of tongs, because quite frankly, I don't want to get too near this, because the steam is coming out of it, and it looks really rather hot. So I'm going to try and do a bit like that. Jesus Christ, that is horrifying. First time I've used one of these. So we just got to gently let this steam out. I say gently, it's going to do its own thing. But oh, it's releasing a wonderful smell from it now, and that must be our pork belly. I think it might be safe now. I'll bring this back over and pull this out. Oh, there we go. Whee! I live! Right, let's get our pork belly out of here. Ooh, you shush. So, here we go. That has only taken 30 minutes to get to that stage in a pressure cooker. That is outstanding. See, that has softened up nicely, so I'm just going to let this cool down for probably about 5 minutes or so, then it needs cutting into smaller pieces. Right, this has had long enough to cool that I can handle it with my hands, so I am going to chop this up into some nice chunks that would be possible to pick up with chopsticks if I had any. Yeah, we want them probably about this sort of size, I think. And that cuts so easily after being cooked in that pressure cooker. That is amazing. I've never used one, as I keep saying, but that is incredible. That would take about 3 hours in a slow cooker to just get to that stage. I'm going to cut all these into about that sort of size. Right, that's all chopped into lovely chunks, and now we can actually get this cooked in the pan and turn it from deliciously tender pork belly into kakuni, however you say it. At this stage, you're going to need a wok, or at least a wok-shaped pan like I've got here, and I've got some oil in here. It's just sunflower oil. And before we actually cook our pork, you're going to want to chuck in some whole spring greens into there. These would be Japanese green onions if I had them, but I don't. So I went with the closest thing, which is spring onions. So I'm going to pop these in the pan into this oil just to wilt them down for a couple of minutes, I think. This is a pretty basic dish at its heart. All its key ingredients are the pork, spring onions, eggs, which you'll see in a bit, and that's pretty much it. Then it's just all the flavourings that we use to create this. It's quite basic, really. There's not many components to it. You may be able to get Japanese green onions somewhere near you, but I haven't the faintest where the nearest place to me it would be. So I am substituting here. I hope this is okay, anyone who is Japanese that is watching. And if this is horribly wrong, I am sorry. But I really like spring onions, so at least I'll like this. Right, these have wilted down quite nicely, so I'm just going to get this popped onto a plate for later. And now I'm going to get our pork into this pan. I'm not putting any more oil in because there is still the fat on this pork belly, and that will render out and help cook our pork. It won't need long. I only put a couple of minutes each side to brown off because we've already cooked the meat, so it's just getting some colour and flavour into this. See, that's not had very long at all, and that's already browned off nicely on one side, so I'm going to quickly turn this over. This is smelling fantastic already, but we have yet to get any of real flavour into this. I mean, it tastes great anyway because it's just beautiful pork, but that's had about a minute on that side, which is going to be plenty. So we need to get, you be quiet. So we need to get our flavour into this. I'm going to add in some sliced ginger over this. I don't know if this is something that gets done often, but I think it needs some ginger personally. For me, I just love ginger, so I'm adding it. If this is not a traditional thing to do, please let me know. But I am not regretting it one bit because this is already smelling fantastic. While that's cooking away, we need the base of this sauce, which is going to be some soy sauce. So I'm going to add that in beautifully thick, lovely soy sauce. I'm going to add in about 100 millilitres more of our dashi. There's about 100 millilitres of soy sauce there. I didn't say that, sorry. So I'm going to add in a dash more dashi. Now here's where you usually would add in some like sake or something like that. I have no sake. I couldn't find it in my local supermarket. They were sold out. I had no sake, so I am going to be putting in some mirin, which is Chinese rice wine instead. So this is a decent substitute. So I'm going to use this. So in this goes, and I'm just going to let that cook away and bubble down, especially to cook out the alcohol because I don't drink. So I want to get that cooked out as much as possible. And we also need to add in about 75 grams of caster sugar. I'm using golden caster sugar because it's got a lovely golden syrupy flavour to it. So I'm going to add that as well. Remember, this is quite a sweet pork dish. Get that mixed into there. I'm going to turn that back over because that side's had a while on cooking. While on cooking, that's a sentence. Then I mentioned eggs before, so I've got 3 boiled eggs. I didn't show you how to boil an egg because hopefully you won't need to see how to boil an egg. So I'm going to just pop these in around and about because this is again part of the dish. It's all traditional. I'm just going to turn it around in that sauce, and then we just let this all bubble and simmer away until this has become a nice thick, sticky, beautiful, sweet sauce. Can I get any more adjectives into that? I probably can. Right, these eggs won't need as long as the pork, so I'm taking these out now because I don't want to overcook them. This has probably had about 6 minutes bubbling away at the moment. I think we're going to need to go for about 10 or 12, but you can see this is already becoming a lovely thick bubbly sauce. It smells amazing, so sweet. Right, this has got to the point where now I think this is pretty much there. It's probably had about 10 minutes. If I bubble this down too much, it's going to start to stick and burn, which I don't want it to do. It's quite a nice thickness, and I want to be able to pour some of this sauce over our kakuni, whatever. So I've got our greens from earlier, and I'm going to get some pieces of this beautiful pork onto there. Arrange this as prettily as I can, and let's get some of our eggs onto there as well. Oh, there we go. Look at that. That is beautifully cooked egg as well. So look at that effect. So you've got like the sauce on the outside that's stained the egg, but you've still got the white and beautiful yolk on the inside as well. So let's get about half of these eggs on there, and there we go. That is ready to be, well, first Instagrammed and then eaten by me. There we go. There is our kakuni, our Japanese braised pork belly. It smells absolutely fantastic, and oh, it just looks it as well, and those eggs look great. They are cooked just perfectly, and no, I'm just not going to talk anymore. I'm just going to give this a go. So I'm going to find a really nice piece of meat. Sorry, I am using a fork. I have no chopsticks, otherwise I would use a chopstick. A chopstick? Both chopsticks. So, oh, look at that. It's got a beautiful sticky sauce. Hello. Oh. Sorry, there's absolutely no grace or elegance to that at all. But I'm not sorry. That is absolutely delicious. That sauce is fantastic, and that meat is cooked so well. I'm just going to bring that in. Look how beautiful and tender and juicy that is. That is phenomenal. And using a pressure cooker, it really didn't take that much time at all either. I'm just going to try another bit, but with some egg as well and a bit of greens. Let's try a bit of everything. Got a little bit of everything there. Sorry, this is not pretty. That is beautiful. Oh, I love this dish so much. The sweet, sticky sauce and the beautifully tender meat that just makes it. It is fantastic, and it is really quite simple. There's not that much to it. And even if you had to slow cook the meat, that's fine. It's worth waiting for. I had to wait all day to make it. So yeah, do it. It is fantastic. And that is it for this episode of Big Friendly Grub. I highly recommend you make this because it is such a good dish. It really is. And it's probably not going to be the last Japanese themed video that we're going to have on this channel. Like I said, there might be a couple more in the coming weeks, so keep an eye out for those. And if you did enjoy the video, then give it a thumbs up. Very sensitive thumbs up because I'm still holding everything. And if you enjoyed the channel, if you enjoy what I'm doing, then please subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. I say it helps me out. I mean, I don't get anything from this channel other than satisfaction. It's a passion project, and you know, I don't earn any money from this. It's not a paid channel. I don't get any revenue from it at all. I just do it because I enjoy it, and hopefully you enjoy it as well. Hopefully that comes across. So please give the channel a subscribe as well, please. But that's it from me. I'm going to go off and enjoy this, and I will see you on the very next Big Friendly Grub. Bye. Home.